This time, we're going to be taking a look at the garden in late spring. We've just about finished all of our planting for summer, and I'll also be showing you some progress with other things such as our fruit trees and herbs. Hi, welcome to Feral Manor. I'm Leonie and this is Steve. It's great to have you here with us in our patch. We're finishing off the winter crops. We're harvesting lots of broad beans, and I'm also picking the red onions. So we started planting our summer crops out a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest, they're not doing that brilliantly, or some of them aren't. Part of the problem is we've had basically no rain since October. We had 2 millimetres, I checked, on the 4th of November, which just went absolutely nowhere. Coupled with that, we've been having temperatures that have been, you know, in the 20s during the daytime, but dropping right down to single figures overnight. And that, I think, has really affected some of the crops like the snake beans. We thought we'd been a bit smart. We managed to cover everything earlier this week. We had a -2 in November, which is actually pretty uncommon. We thought we were right. We'd covered everything, everything survived, and the next night we got caught unawares. It was supposed to be 4 degrees, which should have been fine. Unfortunately, it dropped to 1, and as you can see from these snake beans, they didn't really appreciate it. I think most of them will make a comeback, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing to see the impact on those. So, come along with me. So why don't you come along with me and I'll show you what's happening around the garden. Even old gardeners can learn new tricks, and this summer we're actually growing 2 crops I've never grown before, which is crazy. They're really common. I'm going to grow cucumbers, and I've also got my first chilli plant ever to put in the ground. Now the cucumbers came from a friend, so she's already got them up to seedling stage, and I've got them in, and we'll look at those shortly. And I'm going to be planting my chilli plant out today. So if you've got any tips about growing cucumbers and chilies, I would love to hear them, because as I say, first time for me. Now, I just want to show you the cucumbers. There's 2 of them. This one's been a little bit attacked. This one's much healthier. And these are space saver cucumbers. And cucumbers like to scramble, so I've put this little piece of wire mesh here, and I hope that they're going to get there. I got this idea from Utility Jane, and I think it's a really good one. These are cheap wire mesh waste paper baskets, and they're really handy for just sticking over vulnerable plants, whether it's birds or bugs. It just seems to give them a little bit of protection. I'm not saying it protects them against everything. Obviously small slaters and tiny slugs could get in there, but it does seem to give them a bit of a go ahead while they're pretty young. So this is where I'm going to put my chilli, right in here. I've got myself a Zimbabwe bird chilli, and it's rated as medium hot. And I think really I've only gotten into chilies in recent years. I've been doing a lot more travelling in Southeast Asia, and just slowly over time, my ability to cope with chili heat has definitely improved. So I thought it's about time I started growing my own. And I mean, honestly, so simple to plant these things. We'll need a good water. We got some rain today in the end. Well, 1 millimetre. So hardly anything to write home about. So I'm just going to put this in here. There's no doubt that tomatoes are the most important crop that we grow over summer. We mainly grow what they call indeterminate types, which are ones that will grow until they're killed by the frosts or they die of exhaustion in summer. We also grow two other types. We have dwarf tomatoes, which are our Bundaberg Rumballs, which I'll show you shortly, and we have one cherry tomato. This row of tomatoes was planted right at the end of October, the 25th, I think, and that is the earliest we've planted in a long time. Most of them seem to be going okay. A couple have been chewed by whatever, but I think we'll be fine in terms of them going ahead longer term, and hopefully we won't get any more of those below 0 days like we had during the week. So the reason we grow these types of tomatoes is that we want a supply for our passata. We make enough passata during a summer period to last us well and truly throughout the year, and indeed, as you can see from our store of bottles, well into the next year as well. But this is a real backbone of the food that we grow in our garden, so I don't want to minimise the importance of this particular crop. These ones happen to be Blue Beauty, which we grew last year. I was really happy with those. They've got a gorgeous purple and orange colour when they ripen. We're also growing Grosse Lisse, and we have a basically unnamed Roma style tomato, which we've just grown for years. We've saved the seed. It came from a friend. They couldn't remember what the name was, but it's a perfect sort of paste tomato that we like to use. I'm also growing Bundaberg Rumball, which is a dwarf variety. Last year we grew it in pots. This year we're growing it in the ground, and I'm hoping to get a good crop off them. Now, they're what you would call a determinate variety, in that they grow to a set height, have all of their fruit, and then they die. Well, last year it took so long for the fruit to come on them that we picked them right up until the first frost came. A nice thing I can see is that these ones here have already got flowers developing, and I don't think these ones are far behind. These do require a bit more maintenance than others. You need to be pulling out these bits. In fact, I like to take the lower leaves off altogether just to ensure that the bulk of the energy goes into this fruiting top. It's not a one and done job. This is something you need to do all the time. Now, tucked away down here is our one cherry tomato. This is Siberian cherry. And again, this is mainly for eating, and yes, it's great. We've already got some flowers coming on this.
Mandy's pumpkins here and there.
Yep.
Then I put a couple of other seeds from that other lot here, and they can all ramble that way. You know, train them to go that way with any luck. At least not this way.
Oh, they're nice pumpkin seeds. And what, these are the 2 Kent pumpkins our friend gave us. Great. They're going in over where Steve's just been digging. You can see the 2 pumpkins that Steve planted yesterday, and also we've got our zucchinis here, so hopefully there'll be enough space over here for them to grow away and not to get in the road of other things in the garden. I haven't really talked much about our fruit trees lately, particularly the ones that we pruned. So this is the Moore Park apricot that we pruned earlier this year. You can see that there is fruit on this. Unfortunately, there was a huge amount of fruit on this and most of it has dropped. So we're going to get a very small crop this year, unfortunately, not the bigger crop that we'd hoped for. On the other hand, the nectarine is growing really well and there's stacks of fruit, and in fact I probably do need to be pulling off, and it's easy enough to do, some of this fruit just to encourage larger fruit growth. It's something I really need to get into. I talked about it the other day and haven't done it. I've mentioned before that this is one of the few plants that we had in the garden before we moved to Feral Manor, and we've never been sure whether this branch over here is part of the rootstock or the actual nectarine. We've been really happy to see that this branch over here certainly looks like it is exactly the same fruit as this tree. So we're going to do as we said and trim back this big old branch here and then have this as our new branch. But already these branches have got so much fruit on them, they're on the ground, so we'll have to address those as well. So that is going to be our new branch, and this will be cut off next winter. There are other plants that we don't often talk about down here, including this artichoke, which is just doing so well. We planted it here last year, and we've already taken off a whole lot of artichokes off it. I don't know whether you really call them fruit, I suppose. We've already taken and eaten a whole lot, and as you can see, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 more artichokes coming. So that's been an absolute star in this late part of spring. In the background, we have our olive tree, which is covered with flowers, and traditionally we get virtually no fruit off this whatsoever. So we're hoping that maybe this year, who knows, we might actually get some fruit off this. As you can see, just peeking into the frame, here is our grapevine, which we harvested 14 kilos of fruit from last year. And this year, we're hoping for a similar amount. We have made wine. I'm not going to lie, it's not the greatest vintage known to humanity, but one of the drinks we really liked when we went to Spain this year is a drink called Tinto de Verano, which means summer red. And it's actually like a shandy. It's a mix of wine and lemon soda. And I mean, it sounds awful, but frankly, on a summer's day, when it's all chilled down, it tastes great. And it's just exactly what we need to do with our quote-unquote wine that we've made. This apple tree is in one of the rattiest parts of our garden. It's the former chook pen. As you can imagine, it took quite a battering down at ground level when the chooks were here. But this year it is absolutely coming into its own, and there's just fruit all over it. We planted this one so long ago that I have honestly forgotten what variety it is. I've got my fingers crossed that it's a Braeburn. It's one of my favourite eating apples, but we'll just have to wait and see. The Vietnamese Mint, which I mentioned a couple of months ago, has come back beautifully. Really loving its moist spot there. And the raspberries are going really well. We've got 2 pots this year. This is the pot of all the cuttings we made from the original bush, and we're starting to get fruit forming on it, which will be really good. I'm looking forward to a good lot of raspberries this year. And speaking of raspberries, I have actually got something else. I've got my native raspberry, which I'm just about to plant out, and I noticed this morning that it's flowering. And this is my Australian native raspberry, Rubus parvifolius, and you can just see there, just got one little flower. One little flower there, but plenty of other buds, so I really have got to get this into a pot. The roots are already coming through the bottom of this one, so it's definitely time for this one to be potted on. So here we have our lemongrass, and this is Steve's speciality. These 2 plants we overwintered under the trees on the other side of our garden. So yes, they survived this past winter. And this one here, this is this year's lemongrass, and It's really dead simple. We go to the supermarket and buy ourselves some sticks of lemongrass and just pop them into a little glass of water. And after a week or so, the roots start developing, and then we can bring it and put it out into the pot with the other lemongrass. These actually are producing more shoots. I can see there's new shoots at the bottom of this one over here, and we'll be using those throughout summer. And last but not least, we have one fig. Whether we will get to eat it's a debatable point, because there's plenty of competition around the garden between the birds and the rats and everything else to get into these things. So hopefully we'll get that fig, but we'll just see how we go. Thanks for being here with us, and I hope you're going to drop by sometime again soon. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Bye.